Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Another tier list Thursday on the books. And I'm finally revealing what it is. It's a bunch of Batman villains. Bunch of Batman villains. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if there's any like bookkeeping thing I need to do. Oh yeah. What I do want to mention before we start getting into the ranking is how I'm gonna do things. Or actually, you know what? I'll just go to the tier list screen before I do that. This is more for like just general introduction stuff. So let's see here. Browser. Okay. So, there we go. This is a custom-made tier list by me, so I don't have to credit anybody, except all the comic book artists who I stole from for the pictures, but we don't need to talk about that. You can find it on TierMaker. What's my account name? Hold on, let's see my account. Okay, I am just that one Pyro Noob. Okay, you can find it at on that one Pyro Noob on TierMaker. It'll be there. And yeah, on to like what I'm gonna be ranking these characters on, and I'm gonna get some music started too, real quick. But basically, the main thing, what type of music should we listen to? I have no clue. I guess I'll just put on like the Arkham City OST. I don't know if any of this is right, but whatever. This sounds right. So, basically, the main thing I'm gonna like rank these characters on is potential, basically, like storytelling potential and whatnot. Because there's gonna be a lot of characters here who have like appeared only a handful of times and haven't done much, because there are 147 characters I'm going to be going over. So you know, if I was just ranking stuff that's like actually in the books, you know, some of these characters would just be stuck in. A lot of these characters would be stuck in like C tier hell because they've appeared in one comic ever and never again. So some of it is going to be based off like potential, and other parts is going to be based off like, okay, they were in a bunch of cool stories that I like or whatever. It's really just going to be like vibes based, you know what I mean? Also, I'm going to go ahead and have the Batman wiki open for later, because I did make the tier list based off the Batman wiki, so I don't remember what some of these characters do. But so I guess without further ado, let's just jump on into it. The Absence. The Absence is a character. I think I remember what her deal was. She's like, okay, never mind. I don't remember. I like vaguely remember. I probably spelled that wrong. Absence, yeah. Wealthy socialite, Okay. So basically, she got shot in the head and she feels abandoned by society. That's her whole deal. And then she creates like Riddler death traps. You know, similar, or at least a similar style to like Riddler death traps. I'm gonna put that in like B. I think that's a solid B tier. She has a very striking design with the hole in the head. It's very like Junji Ito, Uzumaki type deal. But I don't know. Maybe if she gets like an adaptation somewhere down the line, she can kind of be her own character. Because that's the thing. A lot of the characters who really shine more through like adaptations than in the books. I think Batman is kind of very reliant on adaptations. Achilles Milo, I do know Achilles Milo. He was in BTAS. Basically, his thing is that he's a chemist. Like he's your most like standard mad scientist character in Batman's Rogues Gallery, you know? There's a lot of mad scientists in Batman's Rogues Gallery, but Milo is kind of the most middle of the road of them all. So I'm gonna put him in C for being just kind of whatever. I realized I don't have an F tier. I'm gonna need to fix that. And fix that indubitably, because I need an F tier for this, because C is my middle of the road. And Milo, like his biggest claim to fame, I think in the books his biggest claim to fame is technically being the cause of Zur-En-Arrh, which honestly makes me want to bump him down a tier because fuck Batman Rip. But his like main claim to fame in like BTAS, which most people probably remember him from, is he turned that one guy into a werewolf. You know, wasn't a very memorable episode. You know, hard to be memorable when you're like your werewolf episode is literally being compared to Man Bat, but whatever. Amygdala, amygdala, something like that. It's a brain thing. Basically, he's like a big stupid guy, big stupid strong guy. That's really it. He's shown up in a couple things. I think he was in Nightfall. But he's kind of whatever. I'll give him a C tier. Because I think there needs to be, like, just some jobber villains, you know? It's an important thing to have, is the jobbers. But he doesn't really have anything going for him. He is, like, probably the character you feel the most bad for in Arkham Asylum, because he has, like, an actual debilitating mental illness, instead of just being a psychopath like the Joker. Anyways, Anarchy. Anarchy's gonna go in A. I like Anarchy. I think that there's a lot you can do with Anarchy. You definitely can fall a bit into the trap of like it's a dude who just wants anarchy. You can definitely just fall into a trap of basically being a worse V from V for Vendetta. But I think like a well-written Anarchy is a character who kind of makes Batman think about his viewpoints by raising valid views, extremists though they may be. So there you go. Anchorus. Anchorus is another extremely extremely obscure character. I think she's only appeared like once. Basically, she's an old woman. I'm gonna put her in B tier with absence, by the way. Basically, she is like the oldest inmate in Arkham Asylum, and she doesn't get attention anymore because she like willingly checked herself into Arkham Asylum to actually seek help. She actually wanted to seek help, and she blames Batman because now she can't get help as effectively anymore because of all the super criminals like the Joker and whatnot. So she like causes a riot and does stuff, and then the end of the book it's like, oh well, she got what she wanted because now she gets more help. She also has like, I think, phasing powers, you know, like vision type shit where she like can phase through the floor. So that's interesting. Again, I'm pretty sure she's only appeared once, so she probably just needs some more appearances in like a TV show or something. The Arkham Knight. Now, you're probably, when I say the Arkham Knight, you're probably thinking like, oh, Jason Todd from Arkham Knight. No, there was another character called the Arkham Knight that debuted in the comic books like 4 or 5 years after Arkham Knight came out. Hold on, I'm gonna look up her name because I don't remember her real name. Which, yes, the Arkham Knight is a woman in the books. Astrid Arkham. Astrid Arkham, her thing is that basically she's Jeremiah Arkham's daughter, and she was raised in the asylum because her mother died during childbirth, and Jeremiah became like paranoid about her dying too. So she was basically raised in the asylum and almost nannied by like a bunch of Batman villains. Like, for some reason, they just like her. Like, the Joker's just chill with her, you know? Which, I'm not sure I really like that, but whatever. And she... So later down the line, she, like, wages war on Batman because she views Batman as the bad guy because all the villains are the good guy. Oh my god, it's so deep and interesting, and it's kind of C tier. I could see them eventually doing something interesting with this premise, but it's kind of founded on like a level of stupidity where it's like there's this, because it went beyond, because the reason the villains like her is because they liked her mom, right? Like, I think the backstory is a group of villains during a riot at the asylum protected her mother while she was giving birth, and among those villains was the Joker, like, of all people. And I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't like that, you know, that there's this random nurse that all the Batman villains actually really like, and she's chill with all of them, and so they're chill with their daughter and basically raise her. It's stupid. It's dumb. Baby doll. Baby doll, I'm gonna put A. And the reason I'm gonna put an A is because she has not appeared in any comic books. Fun fact, she is still exclusive to BTAS, which is a little silly to me because, like, I can't remember if her episode won an Emmy, but her episode is one of the most critically acclaimed episodes of the series, and they just never brought her over, which, I don't know, I guess they felt like bringing her would be competing with Harley Quinn, which I'll talk about Harley Quinn later, but I don't know, it's just, I just don't understand why they haven't brought her into the main books, because, again, her episode is like one of the most critically acclaimed episodes of the series, like up there with Heart of Ice. So I don't know. I don't know why they haven't done Baby Doll yet, but that is why she's only in A tier. It's because she has no appearances under her belt. Anyways, Bane. I mean, Bane's gotta be S tier, right? It's Bane. Come on. Nightfall's such a good comic. Alright, his appearance in Arkham Origins was really good. He was probably one of the best parts about the entire Nolan trilogy. Which I'm not too hot on the Nolan trilogy, so that's one of my hot takes. And yeah, I mean, it's just Bane. It's just Bane. I think Bane's probably gonna end up being lower S, because the problem with Bane is that everybody in adaptations, they just kind of do Nightfall over and over and over again, and then they don't do anything else with him, which is unfortunate, because there's a lot of stuff you can get into, especially with like his Secret Six stuff. But I mean, for Nightfall, Bane's gotta be an S. Probably one of the best new big villain introductions in the 90s, for sure. Definitely better than Doomsday, and I'll stand on that. Arguably better than Venom, although I think Venom debuted a little earlier, so. Bedbug. I'm gonna quickly check what he does again, so I forget. Okay, yeah. His thing is that he can control people while they are sleeping via the use of his bugs, which is interesting, you know. It's a very like creepy concept, so I'm gonna put him in B. Again, not really a lot of appearances. It's an interesting concept. I hope more gets done with it in the future. Black Mask. I really like Black Mask. I think I couldn't get a high quality picture of him in the white suit, but let me find a good picture of it. Like this. This type of suit, this type of design for Black Mask is so cool. I love when they do like the white suit on with the black mask. It looks so good. So I really love his design. That being said, he's kind of just a standard mob boss character who has like, I guess he's got a bit of a gimmick with the mask thing, but I'm gonna put him below. Oh wait, that's Anarchy. I'm gonna put him right there. He's got a bit of a gimmick with the mask thing, but at the end of the day, he's still just kind of like a plainclothes mob boss type deal. So I'm just gonna put him in A. I do like that he kind of is like an evil Bruce Wayne type deal, where Roman Sionis is kind of similar to Bruce Wayne on the surface, where he's like a playboy billionaire, just, you know, philanthropist, but instead of being a superhero, he's a crime lord, you know. It's interesting dichotomy. Black Spider, who viewers might know from the Assault on Arkham movie. Black Spider, I'm gonna put him B, because this thing is that he's like a murderous vigilante, you know, like a Punisher type figure, who he kills. He basically mainly goes after drug lords, and then he'll occasionally like work with criminals to accomplish his goals. So he's like more thoroughly on the bad guy side than like Punisher. That being said, it's not like super interesting. It's not an awesome concept, you know. It is what it is. Blockbuster. I'm gonna say Blockbuster's above Amygdala. They kind of have the same gimmick going on, where it's just big, strong guy who's a bit stupid. I'd say Blockbuster's a little bit better because I think his design is a little bit more striking with like the yellow and purple clothes. And then there's the second Blockbuster, which I did not include because he's more of a Nightwing guy. But that's also a contributing factor, I guess. Who we got? Bookworm. Bookworm's like he's a 60s Batman guy. You know, he debuted in the Adam West show. So he's just a silly villain. Kind of same deal as the Riddler, where it's like but trade out puzzles for books. His thing is that he just commits crimes and then leaves books as clues, you know? He's fun. I like a lot of the 60s Batman villain. I think the 60s Batman stuff is just fun, so I like a lot of them. Bronze Tiger, League of Assassins guy. He very rarely does Batman stuff, but when he does, it's pretty decent. He's mainly like Suicide Squad and just other stuff, you know. This thing, he's a mercenary. He's sometimes more on the anti-hero side, is what it is. He's kind of whatever, at least for me. And Calculator. Calculator has become more of like a Birds of Prey villain in recent years, which I think works. I like his old costume. This picture does not show it, but I like his old costume a lot. I think it's fun. Let me see it. These costumes. I like this costume a lot. And his whole thing, again, I'm gonna say this a lot, I guess, a Riddler type deal where he's just super duper ultra smart and he knows everything at all times. He's decent. He's good enough. I'll put him in like C tier because he's not really anything special in my mind, but he's fine enough. Calendar Man. I'm gonna put Calendar Man A tier because how they used Calendar Man in like Long Halloween proves that you can take these silly villain concepts from the 60s and make them actually kind of intimidating. And I like that a lot. I will say I do miss his old costume, which is why I used it here, because this is like genuinely a fantastic costume. But I do like the Hannibal Lecter type Calendar Man. I think that's interesting. And yeah, turning him from like just a goofy guy who commits petty theft on different holidays to like a serial killer who only attacks on holidays is definitely an interesting way to take his character in like a more serious story. And then I like that we still get goofier Calendar Man and like goofier adaptations like Brave and the Bold. You know, stuff like that. Interesting. Captain Stingery, very obscure villain. Basically, his thing is that he's just a guy who decided to rob people in a pirate costume. His only notable thing is that he's one of the first openly gay comic characters. So good for him, I guess. It's not going to save him from the D tier. Carmine Falcone. Carmine Falcone is probably the best, like, plainclothes mafia guy. And it's just because of Long Halloween. Long Halloween's just a goated storyline. Just is what it is. Carpenter. I'm gonna do something crazy, and I'm gonna put Carpenter in S tier. I think Carpenter's a very unique and interesting character, where she started out as Wonderland Gang, but then once the Wonderland Gang broke up, they took her in a very interesting direction of like, she's a supervillain handyman. So she'll like show up and build death traps for people, for like the Riddler or whatever, and get paid and then go on her way. So I like that. I think that's a very interesting thing to do. for a character, and I wish she showed up more. And I hope she one day features in like an actual full-on adaptation. Catman. I'm gonna give Catman like an A. He was treated as a joke for a long time, but following his stuff in the Secret Six, he actually became a very interesting character. And I like his kind of... I like how he is almost a perfect neutral, where he works with villains a lot of the time, but he doesn't really particularly do a lot of villainous stuff anymore. But he also doesn't really care for being a hero. He doesn't want to be a hero. So I like that. I like Catman a lot. Catwoman. I mean, it's Catwoman. She's got to be an S. The OG femme fatale, the OG cat burglar type character. I mean, it's just Catwoman, right? What else can I say? Although, actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna drop her into low S, because I'm gonna be so for real. The will they, won't they is just tiring at a certain point between between Batman and Catwoman. It's just tiring. And, I don't know. I think it really came to a head in like the Tom King run, where they were like going to get married and then they didn't, and everybody hated it. So I hope they kind of just dial it back a little. I don't mind her being like more of a femme fatale type deal. I honestly wouldn't even mind her being not in a relationship with Bruce. I feel it's fine if she's not in like a full-on committed relationship with Batman, but either commit to having her not be in a relationship with him, or commit to having her be in a relationship with him. You know, just take your pick. Because this like will they, won't they crap's getting old. You know, it's just getting old. The Cavalier. He is very similar to Captain Stingery in that just kind of a dude who commits petty theft dressing like a Spanish Inquisition guy. I'm going to give Cavalier a C just because he appeared more frequently than Stingery, and he was, like, for example, I think he was in Nightfall, actually. Now that I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure he was one of the villains released during Nightfall. And also he has like a sword that is like an energy sword. It's a lightning sword. So he actually does something interesting besides just dressing weird. Also, like Captain Stingery, he was one of the first openly gay supervillains, and I believe his romantic partner was Captain Stingery. So there you go. Cavalier, it's just kind of better though. Chancer. Chancer's a guy who just kind of has a little bit more luck. You know, his thing is he's lucky. Like, that's the thing. I don't know if it's like a full-on Domino from the X-Men type thing where he has luck manipulation, or if he just thinks he's lucky, therefore every coincidence ever is just luck. But I'm gonna put him in D, because he kind of was in a Secret Six thing for a while with Catman or whatever, but he doesn't really bring a lot to the table, in my opinion. Charlatan. Charlatan, this is something many of you might not know, is that Charlatan was originally the second Two-Face. Yes, there were two Two-Faces. Harvey Dent was the first, and then this guy, whose real name I'm going to look up right now. Paul Sloan was the second Two-Face, and basically Two-Face, like, Basically, his skin, he was an actor hired to play Two-Face. His skin got like actually burnt, and he managed to like convince himself he was Two-Face, so he became the second Two-Face. Later on, I think post-Crisis, it was changed so that he had his whole face burnt and became Charlatan, and he just is like an evil actor, man. Kind of like Clayface, honestly. Sort of whatever. I'll give him here. He can be a fine jobber guy, whatever. Clayface. I'm gonna give Clayface an A. I like Clayface, don't get me wrong. I just feel like everybody just does the same things with him over and over and over. You know, there's only so many times where it's like, oh man, I'm an actor, but I'm also a psychopath. There's only so many times you can do that before it gets kind of old, and it's gotten kind of old for Carlos Clayface. Anyways, Clayface number 2. Those of you who don't know, there are like 5 Clayfaces in the comics. I'm only doing the first 2 Clayfaces because they're the only ones who like are really significant. The first Clayface is significant, obviously, because Carlo Basil has become the standard Clayface. He's the Clayface in most adaptations. He is the go-to Clayface in pretty much every book, in every comic. But that was not the case forever. The Clayface 2 is Matt Hagen. Matt Hagen is significant because he is the first Clayface to actually have, like, the Clayface superpowers. Because when Carlo Basil was introduced, he was just called Clayface because Clayface was a character he was playing in a movie, and then he started killing people as the character in the movie. Clayface 2, Matt Hagen, is the first Clayface to have, like, shape-shifting powers. And then Carlo Basil, like, later took those powers and then became the standard Clayface. But Matt Hagen kind of established, like, big blob of clay as being Clayface. That was the first thing. That being said, beyond that, like, historical significance, Matt Hagen Clayface has not been used in years. His backstory is that he's, like, a treasure hunter, and then he gets cursed to be Clayface. That has never been used. As a matter of fact, many of you probably recognize the name Matt Hagen from Batman the Animated Series. They used Carlo Basil's origin story for Matt. He was not an actor in the comics. So, I don't know. I'm just gonna put him... I'll put him in B, because no matter what, when you're getting a Clayface, you're getting, like, a unique set of powers that are interesting to see Batman, like, overcome. But pretty much every Clayface that's not Carlo just doesn't work quite as well because the shape-shifting powers really work with, like, the actor background. Clock King. Classic guy. His main thing is that he is always on time, and he's, like, super neurotic about time. It works. There's been instances, like, his episode in Batman the Animated Series was pretty good. I'm gonna give him a B. I like his aesthetic a lot of the times, whether it be like the classic goofy costume with the clock on the head, or the kind of more modern costume where he has just clock glasses. I think he's pretty interesting. I think having a character who's just like kind of very particular about time works well if you're doing like a heist thing. I like that. He was on a Suicide Squad, and that was pretty interesting. I think he was on the Suicide Squad in Justice League too. Justice League Unlimited. Obviously, it wasn't called the Suicide Squad in Justice League Unlimited because they couldn't use the word suicide. It was just called Task Force X, but he was on it. So, there you go. Pretty interesting. Then we have Clue Master, also known as Discount Riddler. The main thing Clue Master has going for him is that he is Stephanie Brown's father, which I think is very interesting, and I wish they would do more with that, with like maybe even like give Stephanie like an imposter syndrome type thing where she's worried that she's destined to become like her father or whatever. I don't know. It's interesting, and I wish they would use that more. Beyond that, Cluemaster is just Discount Riddler, and that's, you know, they comment on that a bunch, and that's kind of his thing. He was good in his episode in the 2004 Batman, although he's nothing like the Cluemaster from the comics in that episode, so. Condiment King. I mean, it's Condiment King. Is there anywhere else he can go besides this tier, the best villain ever made tier? It's Condiment King. We all love Condiment King. Then we have Copperhead. Copperhead, I mean, he's pretty decent. I'm pretty sure he literally has not been given a name to this day. His identity is still unknown, so it's interesting, I guess. I like his suit, though. I like his powers of being like a contortionist type deal. I don't know. Put him there. He's a good jobber, at the very least. Crazy Quilt. Crazy Quilt's actually very interesting because, little known fact, prior to Death in the Family, where Jason Todd died, literally just prior to that, Batman and Robin had a run-in with Crazy Quilt, and Crazy Quilt, like, almost beat Jason Todd to death. Because he thought it was Dick Grayson Robin, and Crazy Quilt, I don't know, he just hates the Robins, I guess. His thing is that he just hates the Robins. So, I don't know. Beyond hating the Robins, he kind of doesn't do much, though. And he's kind of a joke of a character. Then we have the Crime Doctor. His thing is that he's just a serial killer doctor. I don't know, he's like Dexter Morgan if he was a doctor instead of a whatchamacallit, a blood analyst. Kind of whatever. I'll give him B. Because I will say, you probably can notice from this picture, he has very striking glasses that are in the shapes of stars. That is an interesting thing because the glasses he took from like his first victim, and that he just stole them. I don't know. That's interesting. He's also Rupert Thorne's brother, which is interesting, I guess. So I don't know. Then we have Dave. Dave is a character that is, as of now, exclusive to the Batman 2004 animated series. One of the best villains from that series, without a shadow of a doubt. They really should bring him into the main comics. Really, really should. His backstory is that he was a supercomputer created by Hugo Strange to basically to replicate supervillains, like how a supervillain thinks. Strange said this was to cure them better, but obviously it's Hugo Strange, so he was kind of just doing it to fuck around. And Dave basically became the greatest supervillain ever made. He instantly found out Batman's identity because it was because Dave's wavelengths, besides being based on like every villain in Batman's Rogues Gallery, were also based on Hugo Strange, who I guess is a villain in Batman's Rogues Gallery. But at the point in the show, Hugo Strange was not like considered a villain. So he pretty much instantly finds out Batman's identity, and the only way Batman was able to beat him was by giving him an identity crisis, by asking him what his origin story was, and saying that every great villain has an origin story. And then Dave freaked out because he didn't have an origin story, because he's just a computer. But I really like Dave. It's one of the best episodes of the Batman 2004, and he really should be brought to the main comic. Also, his design is just sick. Like, the picture doesn't do it justice. Let me look it up. Dave Batman. Like, look. Oh, that's the wrong picture. Let me see a gallery. Is there a gallery? Oh my god, dude. There. Like, this is such a cool design, the robot in the trench coat. It's so cool. And they should put him in more stuff. Deacon Blackfire. Deacon Blackfire's main claim to fame is being like one of the few prominent like cult leader villains in Batman's Rogues Gallery. Pretty interesting. Considering how like almost pseudo-religious Gotham is often portrayed as, I think that Deacon Blackfire is a very interesting thing. The main problem with Deacon Blackfire is that he dies after his first appearance and he's never been brought back, apart from like Blackest Night. And he's always like trying to possess people so he can come back. So you don't get to really see the effects of his cult. So I'm gonna put him in B, but he definitely has like potential to get a lot higher. Also, I think his comic design is awful. It's literally just an old man in a priest uniform, in like a Catholic priest uniform. His design in Arkham Knight is a little bit better, I guess, but I think we could lean more into like the cult aesthetic, you know, maybe get like red robes or something. I don't know. Deadshot. I'm honestly feeling putting Deadshot like down here. I'm not like a huge Deadshot guy. You know, he's fun in Suicide Squad, but beyond that, it's just he's an assassin. Like, he has a daughter. Cool. Does that matter? No, because he's gonna keep being an assassin because he's gotta always be on a Suicide Squad or whatever. You know, it's kind of just whatever at the end of the day. He does have a sick design, though. I will say that. Deadshot has like one of the cleanest designs in comic book history. I love the mask with the one red eye. The Dealer. The Dealer is what I'm fairly sure was a one-off villain featured in Batman Black Mirror, which Batman Black Mirror is like the greatest Batman comic book ever made. You might get turned off on it at first because it has Dick Grayson as Batman instead of Bruce Wayne, because it was during that period of time where Bruce was like considered dead. But the Dealer was very interesting because his thing was that he was just selling used stuff from Batman villains. So at one point in the book, he becomes a Man-Bat because he was selling the Man-Bat serum, and he was selling like the Joker toxin or what, all this other stuff, this villain paraphernalia, which I think is interesting because of course there's going to be people who are willing to buy that stuff. So having a villain who does that is cool. And I don't know, they should bring him back and let him sell more stuff. I don't know. I'll put him like there. Deathstroke. Deathstroke isn't even really a Batman villain. I just have him here because I'm not going to do another one of these. And, well, I was never going to do a Teen Titans one in the first place. So, I figured I'd just do that. Sorry, somehow I paused my music. I don't know what happened there. Or I guess YouTube thinks I'm dead. Whatever. I'm gonna put... I mean, I don't know. How do I talk about Deathstroke in the comics, man? Judas Contract is so awful. Why did they make Deathstroke a pedophile? I'm putting him in B tier. His other appearances are cool, typically, and I like Ravager, but I cannot, in good conscience, put him in A tier for being a diddler. The designer. The designer's weird because he technically died before the story that he appeared in for the first time. So, I don't know. But his main thing was that he was, like, just a genius super criminal. Just another, like, super genius type. I'm gonna put him below the calculator. Actually, I'm gonna put him above the calculator. His design's cooler than the calculator. Dollhouse. Honestly, I don't know why I included Dollhouse. She's just kind of she was just kind of a henchman for the doll maker, so I'm gonna put her in D tier, I guess. Doll maker is cool though. Very edgy. Very edgy. He definitely reeks of New 52, but he's decent. I'll give him a C tier. Doodlebug. Doodlebug is another one that's only appeared in one comic ever. But his thing is that he's a serial killer who uses the blood of his victims to paint. Kind of similar to Muse from Daredevil. So I'm gonna put him below Anchorus and Absence because he's similar in the sense that, like, man, he should appear more. He should show up more often. Although I think he's canonically dead, because in the one book he was in, which is Arkham Asylum Hell on Earth, he like summoned a demon by sacrificing a bunch of inmates and then died himself, I guess. So I think he is still canonically dead. Dr. Death. Dr. Death is... I'm gonna put him above Clock King. Dr. Death is was the first supervillain Batman fought ever, which is interesting. Beyond that, he doesn't really do anything. He's a gas-based villain. He has a gas that kills people, which is like the least interesting type of gas they could have made. Because, I mean, I know it came first, so it doesn't have the context of all this other stuff. But, like, come on, you know, nowadays we've got the fear toxin and the Joker toxin, and, like, a toxin that just straight up kills people. You know, it's kind of whatever. But I think they could bring Dr. Death back and, like, give him something interesting to do. I don't know. And at the very least, he has that historical significance, so it's cool. Dr. Hurt. Fuck Batman Rip. I will not elaborate further. Batman Rip is like one of the worst comic books ever made. Fuck Grant Morrison. Fuck whoever else worked on that book. I hate Dr. Hurt. Dr. Phosphorus, however, I do not hate. Because he was cool in Creature Commandos, which means he gets to go up here. In the books, he is a lot less sympathetic. I think he kind of just did it to himself for monetary gain in the books. But I like him in Creature Commandos, and he's voiced by Alan Tudyk, so there you go. Also, you know, flaming nuclear skeleton, just cool. Just cool no matter what you're talking about, you know what I mean? Echo. I need to talk about somebody else with Echo. Where is Query? Why are we going down? I'm scrolling up! Go up! I fucking hate my mouse. I need to replace my mouse. So, Echo and Query are Riddler henchwomen. They kind of just work for the Riddler, and that's their whole thing. You can even see, at least in this picture of Echo, she's got like a question mark earring. You can't really... Oh, you can kind of see a question mark earring on Query. But yeah, they basically just work for the Riddler. And, man, can I just say, I miss when villains had, like, hench people like this. I miss those days a lot. So I'm actually going to put him in A, just because I miss Riddler having... I think Riddler especially works well with having hench people, because it gives him characters to bounce off of. Because, you know, the Riddler's very narcissistic. That's his whole thing. So having characters that work for him, that, like, can bounce off of him, I think is very good. And especially when they treat the Riddler more comedically. which we will talk about. We're gonna get to treating the Riddler comedically here eventually, because I do have another character kind of similar to Echo and Query on here. Then Egghead, kind of the go-to example of, well, the Adam West Batman's stupid because it has this stupid villain, but I don't know. It was campy. It was fun. It was Vincent Price. How can you hate Vincent Price playing a Batman villain? Like, come on. It's Egghead. Like, I'll put him in A. Look, I like goofy Batman. I think that as much as I can have fun, as much as I like the more serious Batman stories like Long Halloween or Black Mirror or sometimes Court of Owls, sometimes when I'm in a good mood, Court of Owls, or Year One or Dark Knight Returns. I love goofy Batman. I love goofy Batman, and Egghead is just a quintessential goofy Batman villain. I love him, and it's Vincent Price. How can you hate Vincent Price? Like, come on. Electrocutioner mentioned Arkham Origins Electrocutioner boss fight. Beyond that, though, Electrocutioner in the books, he's more of like a vigilante type deal than just a mercenary. At least depending on the interpretation. So I'm going to put him like above Black Spider because I think he's got a better gimmick. Also, Electrocutioner is just a banger name. It's a good name for a supervillain. Emperor Penguin. As you can probably guess by the name, this character is in fact related to the Penguin. Well, not like by blood, but you get the point. Basically, he was a guy in Penguin's organization who became the leader of the organization after Penguin went to jail. And he then like modified his skin with like poison ivy, tree bark or whatever to become harder than whatever, and now he's a big threat. Basically, he just took over Penguin's organization. That was his main claim to fame. And then he went to jail. And then I think he became Emperor Blackgate. But who cares? I like him, though. I like the idea of a character who, like, takes over Penguin's organization from the inside. You know? It makes the world feel less static and more alive. So I like his idea. I'm going to put him here because I think he's appeared more than Absence and Anchorus or whatever. So there you go. Eraser. Eraser's another one that I think I really like the Eraser's concept. I'm going to put him... He can't get to S like the Carpenter did because he hasn't appeared enough. But the idea of a guy who like shows up and just completely wipes a crime scene clean for money, like that's a really good idea. And if he didn't have a goofy costume, I feel like he would appear more often as kind of a tertiary villain. You know, it's a very interesting idea that I wish they could use more. Film Freak is a supervillain who just watches a bunch of movies. He's just a serial killer. I'm gonna zoom the tier list out just a hair. There we go. He is a supervillain who watches a bunch of movies and recreates scenes from movies with his killings. Kind of whatever. I don't know. I mean, just look at him. I think he died in a Suicide Squad once, and that's like the most I've ever cared about him ever. So I'm gonna put him like down here. I'm gonna put him in D. Like, I can't justify putting him anywhere else. Firebug, not Firefly, Firebug is a very obscure villain who's basically meant to be Firefly's rival, and he's only appeared a couple of times as like a rival to Firefly. He is marked by having like a much bulkier suit, and I think he uses napalm and Firefly does not. So good for him. I'm gonna put him in C tier because his thing is that he just kind of copies somebody else. I don't know. Firefly. Firefly I would put in like high A. The thing about Firefly is that, like, he has a sick design, he has a cool gimmick, but he's just an arsonist at the end of the day. He doesn't really do much besides arson. There's not, like, a whole lot of storytelling potential with him. So, I think just an A for me. Then L Flamingo. Fuck Grant Morrison. Fuck Grant Morrison. No, I'm just kidding. Batman Rip is the only thing I feel that strongly about. El Flamingo is alright. I think he's just too edgy for me, is the thing. Because his thing is that he eats people. He is a flamboyant mob guy who eats people. Which, already, it feels like too much. Like, you know, you have the flamingo thing where he dresses in all pink. I think he cannot... He's some level of colorblind or maybe something. I don't know. There's something going on with his eyes where he can't see too good. And then he also eats people. And then he also works for the mob. There's just too much going on with him. And it's also way too edgy for a character called El Flamingo. Like, come on, bro. Floronic Man. A character most commonly associated with being the weed supervillain. Which I don't think I actually have Snowflame on this list, unfortunately, which is the cocaine supervillain, for those of you unaware. Floronic Man is just kind of like Poison Ivy, but what if he was a dude? So, good for him. Although it's interesting how, like, you can kind of compare and contrast how they treat different plant-based villains with Floronic Man and Poison Ivy here. Because Floronic Man basically is like big old hulking Groot-looking motherfucker, and Poison Ivy's like this seductress. I don't know. I'm sure there's a paper you can write on that. I'll put him in C for being weed, I guess. Fright. Fright is pretty interesting. She is an albino character who worked for the Scarecrow in order to cure her albinism, which I didn't know people were particularly invested in curing albinism, but whatever. And she was also like a double agent for the Penguin. I don't know. Let me look at her a little bit more. Let me like. Okay, so she created the Scare Beast. So, like, she was the one that started causing Scarecrow to transform into the Scare Beast. And this was, like, back in the day when Scarecrow was a little bit more of a goofy guy instead of the, like, absolute nightmare fuel he is now. And she can also exhale nerve toxins. So good for her. I'm gonna give her like a B. Again, I miss henchwomen. Bring back the age of the henchwomen. You know, we had Echo and Query. We had Harley Quinn, who I'm fine not being a henchwoman anymore, honestly. And we have, like, bring back henchwomen for real. I miss them. I miss the idea of henchwomen. Henchmen too, but there aren't like notable henchmen like there are notable henchwomen. The best I can think of is like Gaggy, who did not make this list because all I would say is he sure is Gaggy. Gardner. Gardner is like, I think she's Poison Ivy's long lost love interest from college, who is less of an eco-terrorist and just like wants to preserve plants. I don't know. I'm gonna give her an F, because the thing is, and I'm gonna talk about this more with Poison Ivy, I really, really, really don't like how they've handled Poison Ivy in recent years. I really, really, really do not like it. And it's not just because she's a lesbian, by the way. I'm fine with her being a lesbian. It's other things. Gearhead. Gearhead's another character who was in Batman 2004, the Batman 2004. he was like a suave and cool guy in that cartoon. He is anything but in the comics. Gearhead in the comics is like, every time he appears, they find some new and interesting way to make him gross. Like, that's his thing. He's just really, really gross. Beyond that, his thing is that he is a cyborg that is constantly being strapped into different vehicles to commit crime. I don't know. I'll put him in C. Because, like, man, this picture doesn't really do it justice. Like, it shows how ugly his face is, but, like, let's just... Gearhead Batman. Like, let's just take a roll down. Like, there's this spider contraption thing. That's pretty gross. That's a pretty gross picture. Can't really see it, but whatever. This is pretty gross. Like, he's there. That's some pretty grossness. I don't know. It really is just like a competition to make him as gross as humanly possible, and I'm not like a big fan of that. You know, it's just like, I don't know. If there was like actual body horror to it, then sure, but it isn't body horror, it's just him looking disgusting. Gentleman Ghost. I love Gentleman Ghost. He's not technically a Batman villain. I'm actually gonna put Bane higher. He's not technically a Batman villain. I think he appears more as like a Hawkman, Hawkgirl villain. But I was never going to do Hawkman or Hawkgirl at any rate, even before I decided I'm never doing another one of these again, because creating all these images was stupid and I hated it, and it came out looking like ass anyways. But I mean, it's just interesting, you know. I don't know what to say besides I vibe with his aesthetics. He's just such a nice guy that is just committing crime. I just like Gentleman Ghost. I really do. His episode of Batman Caped Crusader was like easily one of the best episodes of the series. Not hard to do when you have a series as mid as Batman Caped Crusader, but whatever. Oh my god, I hate my mouse. The Getaway Genius. His thing is literally just that he kind of saw that Batman and Robin were stopping all the crimes, and he was like, well, what if instead of trying to fight Batman and Robin, I just run away? So his thing became that he would just have a really well planned out getaway. And it worked. I mean, it worked, you know? It worked. I want to put him like with the Crime Doctor, because they've kind of got a similar thing going on of like being plain clothes villains. And I don't know. Bring back the Getaway Genius. Make him do something interesting. I don't know. Great White Shark. Basically a corrupt financier or accountant or whatever that went to Arkham Asylum, which he thought was like a way to get out of actual jail. But then it turned out Arkham Asylum sucks. Something I could have told you. And he became a deformed monster, which kind of broke his mind and made him into like a mob boss type figure. Similar to Black Mask, I feel like. Actually, no, he doesn't deserve to be up here. Black Mask's way better. But he, again, is just kind of a plainclothes villain guy. I like him, but I don't love him. Hangman, the main villain of Batman, what was it, Dark Victory? Something like that. It was the sequel to Long Halloween, and this is Sophia Falcone. Da-da-da-da. And her thing was that she was just killing cops and, like, making a Hangman game. She's decent. I think the problem is they tried to recreate Holiday, but it just did not work as well. So I'm gonna put her like down here. Like right there. Hardak, another character that is stuck in the animated series and has not had an adaptation. Basically, Hardak is a supercomputer that was like trying to create clones of everybody. It was like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers thing, but instead of aliens, it was robots. The Hardak episodes were alright. They certainly weren't as good as like the Baby Doll episode, so less people are probably clamoring for Hardak to make it into the books. And if we're doing a robot villain, I've already said it. I'll say it again. I would rather it be Dave. So I'm just gonna give Hardak a B tier and kind of call it a day. Decent enough. Then Harley Quinn. I like original Harley Quinn. I like how she used to be. When she was a henchwoman of the Joker. I've made my stance on henchwomen clear. I like henchwomen. Even beyond that, though, I didn't mind when she left the Joker. And as a matter of fact, I was hoping striking out on her own would kind of, like, give her more of her own identity. Because, you know, be cool. Unfortunately, striking out on her own made her discount Deadpool. So that sucks. I really hate modern Harley Quinn. She's annoying. She gets way too many books, for one. Way too many comic books. And again, she's just discount Deadpool. I'm pretty sure the shift happened like maybe a bit before the Deadpool movie, maybe. But it like really started happening after the Deadpool movie, and it's just like, oh well, DC saw that the Deadpool movie worked, and we're like, okay, well, guess we're making Harley Quinn Deadpool, cool. And I just hate it. I hate modern Harley Quinn. I really hate it because there's potential there, and here's why I liked what they did. I haven't seen like season 3 and beyond of the Harley Quinn show, but I liked what they did in the first 2 seasons of the Harley Quinn show, where her thing was that she was trying to establish her own criminal gang separate from the Joker. They should do that in the comic books instead of trying to make her this anti-hero character who's trying to be good. She's just Deadpool. She's just Deadpool. And it's bad, and it sucks, because they don't understand what made Deadpool good. I don't know, I don't like modern Harley Quinn. She's still gonna get a B, because original Harley Quinn's still good. But modern Harley Quinn just sucks so badly. And they've got to like course correct on Harley, because it's just awful. It really is just awful the way they write Harley Quinn nowadays. Holiday, I mean, it's the long Halloween, therefore. It really worked what they did with Holiday. I love all the twists and turns where it's like they reveal Alberto was Holiday, but then it's like, well, no, Alberto was a copycat killer who... Oh, I almost texted it out of the tab. Alberto was a copycat killer who only wanted to be Holiday for the notoriety and to escape his family. And really, Gilda was the Holiday killer. Or wait, no, and really Harvey was the Holiday killer, but really Gilda was the Holiday killer. Long Halloween's just so good. It really is. And I like that they kind of let Alberto be Holiday following the events of Long Halloween, because he's the one who wanted to be Holiday. I don't know. I like Holiday a lot. Long Halloween's just so good. Hugo Strange. Fuck, I hate my mouse. I mean, Arkham City is really all I have to say. But yeah, I mean, Hugo Strange is the perfect intellectual match for Batman, and I love that. And I love that for the most part, every creator has been relatively consistent in keeping Hugo Strange as this major threat in Batman's life, and I really like that. So, W. Hugo Strange. Humpty Dumpty. Another just kind of rando Arkham inmate type deal. I'm gonna put him in C because I feel like he has less of a good gimmick than the like just random Arkham guys up in B. Basically his thing is that he is obsessed with taking things apart and putting them back together. And the reason he got put in Arkham is because eventually he took his abusive grandmother apart and tried to fix her. Which is interesting, because, you know, it's like, oh, well, Humpty Dumpty, deep down, he's just a very mentally ill and arguably disturbed individual, but he's not like a bad person deep down. You know, and I like when they do that with, like, the Arkham inmates and make, you know, it really makes the world more engaging when not every person in Arkham Asylum is just a serial killer, you know? Hush. Hush, hush, hush. I mean, I'm gonna put Hush in A. Hush had one good story, and that was kind of it, and ever since then, they've just been kind of stealing their wheels. Kind of a hot take. I don't really like the whole, oh, he's trying to steal Bruce Wayne's face plot. Because, I don't know, I don't feel like that was the point of Hush. He didn't want to be Bruce Wayne. He wanted the money. He's only ever really after the money, and that's the problem with Hush, is that the first Hush comic works because it's all about the build-up and the reveal of Hush. After that, Hush is such a nothing character that you can't really bring him back. Kind of like Holiday in that regard. So I'm just gonna keep him in A for having one good story and then never being good again. Hypnotic. Hypnotic's a D tier nothing character. He kind of showed up in, like, he kind of showed up as one of Penguin's henchmen once. There was this thing where Penguin took 3 super criminals under his wing and was trying to teach them how to be supervillains, and Hypnotic was one of them. He has a very striking design, I'll say that much, but beyond that, he's like the most nothing burger out of all of them. James Gordon Jr. Was in Black Mirror, therefore goated. Also, I like that prior to Black Mirror, Jim Gordon's son didn't really get much attention in the books. He didn't really show up much. And once they made the retcon that Barbara was his daughter, he pretty much just stopped showing up altogether. So I like that they kind of brought him back as a villain and made him unique and interesting and memorable in his own unique way. And I like him a lot. And read Black Mirror because it's just goated. Jane Doe. Her whole deal is that she has no face. She wants a face. So she's like killing people and taking their faces and living their lives for a bit to try and like become them. So she's got an interesting gimmick. She's appeared the most out of these like Arkham randos. But I think she just needs her own like dedicated story to really like sell me on her. You know what I mean? Jeremiah Arkham. He's decent. Put him like here. He's decent. He's certainly no Hugo Strange, which is what you're inevitably going to get compared to as like a head of Arkham. But I like how they started building up the mythos of the Arkham family with him. He was one of the first characters. I'm pretty sure when he was introduced, that was the first time they started really building up the mythos of the Asylum. And I like the mythos of the Asylum. I find it to be very compelling. So, I like him for that alone. I also like the context of how the asylum slowly but surely drives people mad every time they get put in charge of it. And Jeremiah is a good example of that. Because they kind of flip-flop on it a lot, but pretty much in every story he's in, he always ends up a patient of his own asylum. Joe Chill, the man who killed Batman's parents. I'm gonna put him in B because he's like a very like integral part of the Batman mythos. But beyond killing Batman's parents, he doesn't do anything much. He shows up more later down the line, but it's kind of whatever. I always like it more when they write Joe Chill to be a more like sympathetic character who is just a really down on his luck guy and really regrets what he did to the Waynes, so that it creates this moral dilemma of Batman for Batman. I like when they portray him more as that rather than like a mob boss or whatever. So, Joe Chill and B. Joker. I mean, Joker's gotta go in A, but like, I'm gonna be so for he's gonna go bottom of A. I'm just so burnt out on the Joker. I really am. And I think part of the reason is that, like, because for example, I'm not burnt out on Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor appears just as much, if not more, than the Joker. I'm not burnt out on, like, Green Goblin or Doc Ock or Venom. I'm not burnt out on Red Skull or Doctor Doom or Magneto or all these other like arch enemy type characters who appear more often than other villains in the Rogues Gallery. Reverse Flash is another one. I'm not burnt out on Reverse Flash. But the problem with the Joker is that they've just completely ruined him. And like they really have just been completely ruining the Joker ever since Killing Joke. They have just been consistently ruining this character over and over and over again, and it's gotten to the point where people talk about Joker fatigue a bunch. Joker fatigue wouldn't exist if they just wrote the Joker in a way that was compelling, but they don't. They never do anymore. He's just, oh, I'm so crazy, man. Ha ha ha. Look at me do these horrible, over-the-top things. And it's like, yes, Joker is a bad character. He's always been a bad guy. Yes, Joker is crazy. Yes, Joker does horrific things. But it was always with this veneer of showmanship and charisma. And nowadays, he just doesn't have that anymore. He's a guy who's called the Joker, and he's not funny. He's never funny anymore. He's just doing these over-the-top, fucked up things, and it's not funny, you know? It's just not compelling to read, because it's just, they're constantly pushing, like, oh, how far can we take how fucked up the Joker is? And it's just like, I don't care anymore. I don't care about the Joker. Because you've already taken him too far. Like, genuinely, Killing Joke is what started this trend. Killing Joke fucking ruined the character. I hate the Killing Joke. Unironically, I hate the Killing Joke. Hate. The only good thing it did was let Barbara Gordon come more into her own as a character with her Oracle, mantle, or whatever you want to. When she was Oracle, it let her come more into her own. But beyond that, Killing Joke fucking ruined everything. I hate the Killing Joke. 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 But yeah. If you want like an actually good Joker story, read Joker's 5-Way Revenge. That's like an actually good Joker story. Or Joker's portion in Nightfall was also pretty solid. Joker's part in Nightfall, read that. But like Arkham Asylum, Serious House on Serious Earth. That's a book I actually like, and Joker sucks in that book. I hate Joker in that book. Joker in the Scott Snyder stuff in New 52. Hate that stuff. That's like probably the worst Joker's ever been. Actually, I lied because Batman Rip exists. Batman Rip, Joker sucks in that book. Modern day, post New 52, Rebirth era, Joker War. God, what are we fucking doing, bro? 3 Jokers, too. 3 Jokers sucks ass. Just ever since Killing Joke, it's been non-stop. One bad story after another. That's gonna be my Joker moment, is reading another horrible Joker story. Oh my god. Ooh, calm down. Calm down. So, Joker's daughter... I liked her a lot more in, like, pre-Crisis stuff when she was, like, a Teen Titans character. And, like, the whole thing with her is, oh, well, whose daughter is she really? Because, like, spoiler alert, she was not actually the Joker's daughter. She was, like, an alternate... No, I think she ended up being the Jokester's daughter, which is the Earth 3 Joker, which is the one where Joker's a super... It's Crime Syndicate Earth. If you're watching this, you've probably seen Justice League Crisis on 2 Earths. It's that Joker, the one from the universe where the Justice League's evil, and he died in the beginning of the movie. That one. So she got revealed to be his daughter. So interesting stuff there, I guess. And she was also yeah, but whatever. So I liked her more when she was a Teen Titans character. Now in the modern stuff, she's just like, she found Joker's cut off face in the sewers and started wearing it and became crazy person. I don't know, it's stupid. But hey, at least she's better than Punchline, so I guess she can be in C tier for that. I'll put her like here. The Kabuki twins. More henchwomen, please. More henchwomen. They were the henchwomen of the Penguin in the Batman 2004 series, and I really like them. They're just kind of... especially for that Penguin, where he wasn't incompetent in his first appearances that started coming later, but he was always more like, he was always less serious. So having these two almost like serial killer-esque henchmen for the Penguin is interesting. Oh, I think my music stopped because YouTube sucks. Yep. So I like that a lot with the Kabuki twins. Now, KG Beast, which I think he's just called the Beast now. I think they stopped calling him KG Beast, which is lame. They should keep calling him KG Beast. Basically a mercenary who worked for Russia, and he had like a gun hand. It was just pretty metal. Also, for a while, he was the only villain Batman straight up killed. Like, unironically, Batman, like, locked him in a room and just left him there. And for a while, people just thought he died. Like, because he had no food. So, people just thought Batman left him there to die, which is kind of funny. So he can go in B tier for Batman almost killing him, I guess. The gun arm's also pretty metal. Killer Croc. Top of A. I like Killer Croc. I like when they portray him more sympathetic, and make him... I don't like full-on, like, cannibal Killer Croc is what I'll say. I like it when he is a criminal because he has to survive. I like that Killer Croc. So, yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to say beyond that. He's kind of standard. You know, it's weird because he's in a bunch of comics, you know, he's been in like a bunch of stuff, but he only ever has like a big impact in like a handful of things. He's good in Suicide Squad typically though, so there you go. Killer Moth. I grew up with Lego Batman, so is it any surprise? Beyond that, I actually do really love Killer Moth. I think having a villain, because his thing initially was that he started the whole Killer Moth racket as kind of a way to like extort criminals. Because his thing was that he would be contracted by criminals to come save them from the police, in the same way Batman saved the police from criminals, right? Except, unlike Batman, he did not do it for free. He got paid to do it. Criminals would pay him like a protection fee, and he would come and protect them from the police or whatever, which was genuinely like really cool. And I like that way of doing an anti-Batman, where it's not a he wasn't, his origin story isn't like Batman. He doesn't like stand opposed to Batman's core ideals necessarily. He's just taking Batman's idea and it's like, well, I can make some money off of this, and that's awesome. And I love Killer Moth. Also, he has such a striking design. Genuinely a really cool design. King Snake. He's kind of like a martial artist guy. I don't know. His main claim to fame is that he's Bane's dad. Like, that is his main claim to fame here, and that's the only reason why he's on this list, is because he's Bane's father. So, C tier for being a deadbeat dad, I don't know. Can go, like, here. King Tut. I'm just gonna put him with Bookworm. Another kind of just silly. This picture isn't from like Batman 66, but I haven't read whatever comic this is from. I'm familiar with King Tut in the sense of the Batman 68, 66. Did the show come out 66 or 68? Whatever. I'm familiar with the 60s Batman interpretation of King Tut, which is that he is a history professor who like has an alternate identity that is a crime lord based on King Tut. Which, funnily enough, King Tut is I think the only character in the Batman 60s show to find out his identity as Bruce Wayne, and then he just forgets because of the split personality thing. So that's an interesting piece of trivia. I like him though. It's just funny. I just like the 60s. Genuinely, the 60s Batman show gets a lot of shit for being campy. It's probably still one of the best Batman adaptations to this day. Like, honestly. Kite Man! Kind of the poster child for, more silly Batman villains. And I like that. I mean, you know, he had his stuff in New 52, which sucked because it was War of Jokes and Riddles. That sucked ass. But, you know, he's fun. And just, I don't know. I just like him. Kite Man, hell yeah. I just like him. Just fun. Lady Shiva. Her main contribution, to my remembrance of her, is being the mother of Cassandra Cain, another Batgirl whose parental figure is a criminal. Ain't that a bitch? Which actually, I think Cassandra Cain's... Who's her daddy? Who's her daddy? Cassandra Cain. Let me see. David Cain. So yeah, he's another assassin type. But Lady Shiva's the only one that's on this list. And so yeah, I don't know, all the Batgirls have daddy issues except for Barbara, I guess. So I'm gonna put her below Cluemaster because I like Cluemaster's gimmick a little bit more. And I think it makes for a more interesting thing for like a Bat family member to have one of the freaks be their dad. Because, you know, League of Assassins, they're like villains, but, you know, they're not like freaks. They're not one of the freaks like Cluemaster is. So, that being said, I do like Lady Shiva. She's one of the better members of the League of Assassins. I'm not like a huge League of Assassins fan, so good for her. Lazara is Mrs. Freeze. She is Nora Freeze, who was reanimated by a Lazarus pit and then like gained fire powers. So that's interesting, I guess. You get like the fire and ice thing with Mr. Freeze, and now he can't touch her because she's too hot for him. I don't know. The Seed Series was a weird arc. And it's not really any wonder that they've never done it again. Lincoln March. Lincoln March is kind of like the main universe version of Owlman, where it's Thomas Wayne Jr., he's owl themed, da-da-da-da-da, except he's like Court of Owls, and I don't think he was technically Thomas Wayne Jr., he was like a clone, or so it was some complicated thing that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But he was decent, and I think they haven't really brought him back since Court of Owls, so maybe one day if they do more stuff with him, because that's the thing. While the Court of Owls kind of gets the main credit for being the good part of that storyline, the Court of Owls kind of don't do much. Lincoln was like the main driving force, and he was the main face of the court, you know? And when you're doing the Court of Owls storyline, and I think this is one of the big problems with Court of Owls, when you're doing the Court of Owls storyline, is that, like, to give it a satisfying ending, you kind of have to put a stop to the Court of Owls. They kind of have to fail for it to be a satisfying ending. And Lincoln March was kind of their get around, where it's like, oh, you can still have a Court of Owls guy who shows up without the help of the Court of Owls, because he didn't like need the Court of Owls at the end of the day. I think he even betrayed them or whatever. So I like that, and it's definitely better than just having like the William Cobb Talon just show up randomly. So I don't know. They should bring back Lincoln some more. Lockup. Strangely, one of the BTAS villains who got to make it to the main books. I don't know why he got to make it and Baby Doll didn't, but honestly, I'm fine with it. Lockup had one of my favorite episodes of the series, so I'm fine with it. And also, I just like the idea behind him, where he's a corrupt guard at Arkham who just really hates those criminals. He's like super abusive. I liked Lockup. The episode was just really good. Me describing it probably won't do it justice. So watch the Lockup episode of Batman the Animated Series. Beyond that, he hasn't really gotten to do much in the comics, and I don't know. Let him do more in the comics, I guess. I guess that's going to be the main takeaway from a lot of this, is just let these characters do more. Lord Deathman, a bit of like a joke guy. His main thing is that he cannot die because of some... I think he may have had Lazarus juice in his veins at some point, and that drove him insane, and then he got launched into space, and I don't know. He's just insane in the best ways possible, and whenever he shows up, he's just compelling because of that. So I'm gonna put him in A. I like him. Also, he's got a skull, and skull aesthetics are always fun. Lynx. Lynx is kind of like... in a weird way, she's kind of like Tim Drake's Talia, where she's like a villain who's more on like assassin dangerous side of things, but she's like the femme fatale for Drake. I hate my mouse! The femme fatale side for like Tim Drake. I like that. She's fine. Sucks that she's stuck to Tim Drake because Tim Drake sucks ass, but you know. Or I think she was Tim. Hold on, let me look her up. Lynx Batman. Yeah, antagonist, love interest of Red Robin, similar relationship between Batman and Catwoman. Sucks that Tim Drake has never had a good writer ever. So, Lynx can go there. She's fine. The Mad Hatter. I'm just gonna put him next to Deathstroke, bro. Like, I don't know. They inevitably were always going to take it in like a creepy, rapey direction as comics got darker and darker, because, you know, it's mind control and the obsession with Ali. Let's be real. But did they have to make it little girls? Did they have to? Come on, bro. At the very least, Mad Hatter is typically treated like a creep, whereas Deathstroke is like portrayed as cool and badass most of the time. So I guess he's got that on Deathstroke, where like you're supposed to be grossed out by Mad Hatter, but I don't know. I find that in a lot of comics, Deathstroke is like meant to be this badass dude. But whatever. Magpie. I really like the idea of Magpie, where she's just like a super kleptomaniac. I seem to remember her having some type of like bird-based superpowers, but I can't remember off the top of my head if that's true. So maybe I'm lying, maybe I'm not. Also, I like her modern aesthetics. Ever since Beware the Batman, she got a redesign in that show that was really, really good. And she got to... She just became absolutely goated because of that. So, yeah. I'm gonna put her... I think up here is fair. I like her. And I like how her thing is just being like an ultra klepto, you know? Man Bat is weird because everybody sees him as like a mainstay of Batman's rogues gallery, but he's really not. In a weird way, he's kind of similar to Venom, where he was introduced as a villain and then pretty quickly was shuffled off into being an anti-hero with his own book. But that didn't really last, is the thing. Unlike with Venom, where Venom is now pretty squarely seen as an anti-hero, Man-Bat just is shuffled around and doesn't do a lot, and I don't know, it's weird. That being said, On Leather Wings is a good episode of animated series. I like Man-Bat a lot, so I'm gonna put him up here. I like him. Maxie Zeus. Maxie Zeus is a guy who thinks he is Zeus. It's kind of it. He's kind of similar to King Tut in a weird way. I don't know which debuted first, but it cannot be a coincidence either way. That being said, the one like standout Maxie Zeus moment for me is in the animated series where he's getting like walked through Arkham Asylum, and he views all of Batman's rogues galleries as like different members of the Greek pantheon, and he views Arkham as Olympus. I find that interesting, where he's like so deluded that he thinks Arkham is his Olympus. Whereas like in the comics, it's more like he does think he's a reincarnation of Zeus, but he's more so using that as like a gang thing, you know? He doesn't like go full insano mode most of the time, which is unfortunate. So I'm gonna put him like up here, I guess. He's fine. Then the Merrymaker. Basically the Merrymaker was a guy who like ran a Joker support group. Basically like people who were affected by the Joker, or something like that. They were like obsessed with the Joker, and he ran a support group for them. and then he used them to commit murders or whatever. I don't know. It was kind of whatever. Like, put him like down here. He has a cool design though. I'm a sucker for the Plague Doctor mask thing. Mime. Mime is a hit woman who is a mime. B tier. Put her there. I don't know. Miss Tuesday. Now, I mentioned, this is what I was talking about when I did Echo and Query, how I love when a more comedic Riddler has someone to bounce off of. Please, please, please go listen to Batman the Audio Adventures. It's a podcast. It's on Spotify. It's so, so good. It's so funny. It's written by, I think there's like SNL people involved with it. And Miss Tuesday is absolutely like a standout original character from that series. She is basically the Riddler's like only henchwoman. And it's so funny how like the Riddler, because, you know, it's obviously, it's SNL stuff. It's a much more comedic take on Batman. The Audio Adventures is. And so the Riddler is like more zany, you know, he's very over the top, puzzle obsessed, narcissist type of character. And Miss Tuesday is just like completely deadpan 100% of the time. Like, okay, Eddie, whatever you say, boss. She's so funny. She's so fun. Riddler and Miss Tuesday were absolutely like the highlight of the Audio Adventures for me. And please listen to the Audio Adventures. Please listen to the Audio Adventures. And petition DC Comics to put Miss Tuesday in the main books, please. Because she's funny and she needs to be in the main books. Mr. Bloom. Mr. Bloom was like the Jim Gordon Batman, for like, because, you know, there was that brief period of time where Jim Gordon was Batman and he had like the mech. Mr. Bloom was like his arch nemesis, and Mr. Bloom was alright. His main goal was that he was just trying to give people superpowers. I can't remember why, but he was like basically giving a bunch of people superpowers to do something that I cannot remember. But he has a very unique aesthetic, and he was a good antagonist for the Bat Mech. So I'm gonna give him a B. Like up here, because I like him. Like here. The Mr. Camera. Mr. Camera is a very obscure Batman villain from like 60s, right? And he's basically just a guy who takes pictures of his own crimes, which is, I don't think I need to explain how stupid that is, but his design, he has such a good design. It's just a camera on a suit. It's such a good design. Oh my god, I love goofy Batman villains, Charlie. I love goofy Batman villains. Just want to put him up here with the goofballs. Then we have Mr. Combustible. Another one of the guys like Hypnotic, who was like one of the criminals who was working for Penguin. And I can't remember. Let me look up his thing real quick. Mr. Combustible. No, I don't want AI mode. Go back. Shut the fuck up. A criminal in training who went to the Penguin to make da-da-da. Yeah. Basically, he's one of Penguin's subordinates, and I don't know. He doesn't do much, but the light bulb head is like a really solid design. So C tier for having a banger design. Mr. Freeze, I mean, it's gotta be S. I'm not as in love with Mr. Freeze as everybody else, and I think it's just a comic problem where like, oh, he flip-flops a lot. He flip-flops a lot between being genuinely remorseful and trying to better himself. You know, he's just not allowed to progress, and I understand that that's just a thing with the medium. You just kind of have to accept it. But Mr. Freeze suffers a lot from it, and yeah, I don't know. They just don't get very creative with Freeze often. He's always my Nora. Oh, I have to save Nora. Oh, Nora. It's just always that over and over and over and over again. There's only so much I can take, you know? But Heart of Ice is good. Heart of Ice is good. Mr. Toxic. Mr. Toxic is the last one of those villains who worked for Penguin. I think it was revealed that he was like a clone of somebody who I don't know, so there you go. He also has a good design. It's like kind of Atomic Skull type energy. What is going on with my mouse? I have to like punch it. What the hell is wrong with you? What the fuck? What did I do? Okay, it saved. Okay. Anyways, Music Meister. Debuted in Batman the Brave and the Bold. And just kind of a joke character. But I like him. It's a funny joke, therefore. I'm gonna put him here. Although I will say that I have watched, I think I watched all the way through season 5 of The Flash. The Music Meister episode with the crossover with Supergirl, that episode was fucking atrocious. So that was pretty bad. However, otherwise, Music Meister is pretty solid. Nocturna, aka Batman's token vampire. She's pretty decent. I feel like she hasn't really gotten a chance to shine, despite being like, you know, she's a vampire. I feel like everybody would be chomping at the bit to use her, but I guess not. Oh well. She's fine though. Nyssa Ratko, Raish's other daughter, who's not Talia. Basically, pretty much everything they've done with Nyssa and Talia in the... Wait, where's Talia? I'm just gonna knock them both out at the same time here. Basically, everything that has been done with Nyssa and Talia in the modern day is absolutely atrocious. So they get a D tier. Like, they were interesting when they were against Ra's al Ghul. That's what made them interesting. But now they're just like fully in support of Raish's goals and whatever, and it's cool. You've just created 2 more League of Assassins sycophants. Congratulations. Now they can be a part of all of the other League of Assassins sycophants. Genuinely, the League of Assassins is just so boring because it could just be summed up as Raish and his goons. Because none of the other League of Assassins guys ever do anything interesting. But yeah. But you know what? I'm gonna bump Nyssa up a whole tier over Talia, because Talia, with the whole Damien stuff, you get weird and rapey with Talia. Whereas you don't do that with Nyssa. So, W Nyssa. W Nyssa for being not a rapist. Onomatopoeia. Green Arrow guy, initially a Green Arrow guy. I really like his aesthetic of, he doesn't talk apart from making the sounds, like mimicking the sounds around him. Like, for example, if there is a dripping faucet of water, he will go drip, 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 and that's all he'll say. And I like that a lot. That's really interesting. Beyond that, he's kind of like, in the comics, he's a serial killer slash hitman type thing. Type of deal who only takes out superheroes who don't have superpowers. Again, interesting. Unfortunately, he was the main villain of Batman the Widening Gyre, which is probably the worst Batman comic ever made, besides Batman Rip. And yeah. However, I'm not going to hold that against Onomatopoeia, because he has been in other stuff that's good. So I will, for having a very interesting aesthetic and design and whatever, I'll give him up here. He's cool. I like him. Orca. Orca is very obscure. The main thing people remember her from is the Injustice 2 comic where she gets with Killer Croc. Beyond that, she's kind of just whatever. Basically just a female Killer Croc, because her thing is like, okay, she's an orca woman lady. Cool. Or I guess more accurately, a female king shark. So, I don't know. She's alright. I'm gonna put her like there. Then we have Owlman. I mean, I've already mentioned Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. Goated movie. Made Owlman awesome. Is gonna go here. I love Owlman because of that movie. Then we've got the Penguin. I mean, it's the Penguin, so you know you gotta give him some props. But at the end of the day, he is just another like kind of plainclothes mob guy. You know, I miss when he had like all the trick umbrellas and all that sort of stuff, you know? But now he doesn't get to do that. Now he kind of just sits around in the Iceberg Lounge and occasionally goes like, I have all the money. And it's kind of whatever, you know? He's just become only a mob boss, which is kind of lame. You know? I miss when he was more of a supervillain. He's still decent, though. You know, I mean, it's still the Penguin. Penny Plunderer. Penny Plunderer is very interesting because he is dead, canonically dead, and the way he died was that he got the death sentence. So this confirms the death sentence exists in Gotham, and they're giving it to fucking Penny Plunderer and not the Joker. Like, come on, bro. So for getting the death sentence, he can go above the Joker because the Joker deserved the death sentence. The Phantasm. I mean, she hasn't really showed up in the comics that much, but Mask of the Phantasm is so good. It's such a good movie. So, she can go up there. Poison Ivy. Now's the time where I get to rant. Poison Ivy has been absolutely fucking ruined in recent years. Absolutely ruined. Her entire shtick for years and years and years is that she is an eco-terrorist who cares more about the lives of plants than she does about humans. So why has in recent years such a central aspect, such a core component of her character has become she is Harley Quinn's girlfriend? Why? That's like the only thing that she does anymore. She has become such an orbital character for Harley. You know, she doesn't get to do anything besides being Harley Quinn's love interest, and it's so boring, and I don't understand what the writers were thinking when doing this, because it dilutes her character, because now she only exists to be Harley Quinn's girlfriend, and she doesn't do eco-terrorist stuff anymore. She cares more about the lives of this human than her plants, than her babies, even though her entire reason for becoming a supervillain is that she cares more about plants than humans. It's stupid. It's just dumb. I don't like it. I do not like how they made Poison Ivy like this. And it'd be one thing if it's like genuine character development, but then she'll occasionally show up as an eco-terrorist every now and again, And it'll be like, well, I still care about my plants more than humans. It's like, well, like, shut up, bro. Just pick one. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. And I hate it. I absolutely despise it. But anyways, Polka Dot Man. I mean, he's just a joke character. He was in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, though, and that was pretty good. He was pretty good in that. Nothing like he was in the books, but whatever, who cares? Professor Pig. Is this the only good Grant Morrison character on this list? It might be. I like Pig. Pig definitely runs the gambit of being too over the top. But I think that's... I think they've managed to strike the balance well enough to where I don't find Pig to be completely and totally over the top. I mean, yeah, Pig is absolutely gruesome. He's a horrifying villain. But Pig isn't so over the top, you know? And he's also not just like an ugly mishmash of ideas like El Flamingo. There's a clear theme going on here, you know? I will say in his initial debut, he like twerked, which was odd. Don't know why they did that. But then they replaced the dancing with opera in Arkham Knight, and that worked a lot better, and that's kind of become everybody's interpretation of him. So yeah, I like that. Well, I don't like the twerking, but I like Pig. He's fine, you know? I don't mind there being, like, a serial killer, gross out, disturbed serial killer character every now and again. The problem is that they just do it too much nowadays. And it's gotten to be a little bit too much. And every Batman villain has to be a serial killer now, which is a little bit much sometimes. Then we got Prometheus, which I'm going to go ahead and talk about Wrath with Prometheus as well. They're basically the same character, where it's just a kid whose criminal parents were gunned down by police, so they basically became evil Batman. Sorry, you're boring. You bore me. Prometheus is a little bit better, I guess, because I like his design more than either of Wrath's designs, but it's just boring, you know? Take Killer Moth and bring back Killer Moth. Let Killer Moth be the anti-Batman and let these guys rot in hell. Punchline. God. Punchline's killing me in real life because of how awful she is. Worst character ever made. It really is just like they wanted to keep Harley Quinn as discount Deadpool, so they invented Punchline so that they can bring back classic Harley Quinn without reverting how Harley Quinn acts now. So they tried to have their cake and eat it too. And all that's done is, I've already said my piece about how insufferable discount Deadpool Harley Quinn is. And Punchline, because she is just Harley Quinn without any of the character development, and Harley Quinn without any of the charm. I mean, she's basically TikTok Harley Quinn. That's how to put it. She's TikTok Harley Quinn. And so she's Harley Quinn without any of the charm or pizzazz. And it's just like, well, I don't care. I don't care about this woman. I do not care. Like I said, at the very least, Joker's daughter has something I can say about her besides discount Harley Quinn. I don't know. Ra's al Ghul. I have made it pretty clear I'm not like a huge League of Assassins fan. Ra's is fine on his own. I like him as the leader. I like him as like the one of the core. You know, it's hard to describe. I like Ra's though. He's good. He's like the one good part of the League of Assassins, and I really do wish that they would just like stop trying to make unique League of Assassins characters, because they didn't. Like, Shiva and Bronze Tiger have worked out. None of the other ones really have worked out for me. especially after the whole Nissa Talia thing that they did. So I wish Raish would just like command a bunch of faceless ninjas and let that be that, but whatever. Also, ever since Damien, Raish has just been in so... Damien just ruined the League of Assassins even more than the League of Assassins was already ruined, because it's just like... I don't know, it just made all the League characters absolutely insufferable with like, Damien, you're supposed to be one of the League guys, Damien. Whatever. Ratcatcher, I like Ratcatcher. I mean, controlling rats is just an interesting power for like an urban city like Gotham. But beyond that, he's just, you know, I like his aesthetic. I like his vibes. So, the Reaper. The Reaper is an obscure Batman villain where, it is... What am I trying to say? The Phantasm was based on the Reaper, basically. So if you've seen Mask of the Phantasm, you are essentially familiar with the Reaper. Just transform Andrea Beaumont into a dude who has no romantic interest in Batman, and you basically have the Reaper. He's fine. He hasn't really done anything much of note. Red Claw. Red Claw only just recently made her debut in the comics. She was a Batman the Animated Series character. I don't think she's even, like... I'm sure the Batman Wiki's, like, outdated, so I'm sure this is wrong now, but... At least according to the Batman Wiki, her stuff... Because it was in a Catwoman book, and I don't read Catwoman. And she did... She showed up and at like the end of a Catwoman book, and that was kind of it. And that was all the Batman Wiki had at that point in time. So I'm going to only be ranking her off her Batman the Animated Series appearances, and both of her episodes are like some of the worst in the series. They're really boring. So I'll put her like down here. Red Hood. And this is not Jason Todd Red Hood, this is just the concept of the Red Hood gang as a whole. I guess technically also the Joker before he became the Joker. I like the idea of the Red Hood gang. Honestly, I like it more when they're not associated with the Joker, when it's just like a gang of criminals who use the Red Hood as a way to disguise themselves, but yeah, they're whatever. Give them a B. Girl B, the Riddler! One of my favorite Batman villains, for sure. Hugbees did a great video on why the Riddler's awesome. Go watch that for an explanation. I can't do it justice. But yeah, I love the Riddler. Roadrunner. Roadrunner is a guy who basically... He's just like a weapons dealer who has mechanical legs. Plainclothes guy. So, we're about to start getting into a bunch of, like, the more boring plainclothes characters. So I'm just gonna establish they're all gonna go around Achilles Milo, I guess. Roxy Rocket, another Batman the Animated Series character. Again, don't know why she got to make the jump to the comics, but Baby Doll didn't. She is a stunt driver who has a rocket, like an actual just straight up rocket. And she is a stunt driver who... commits petty crime, and she does it for the love of the game, basically. I like how she kind of is attracted to Batman because she thinks he's a thrill seeker like her, but then it turns out he's not, and she becomes instantly unattracted. I don't know. Masochism equals funny, I guess. Yes, I am a Konosuba fan, how could you tell? Rupert Thorne, plainclothes mob guy. Doesn't really get used much anymore in the books. Kind of whatever. Sal Maroni, plainclothes mob guy. His only real claim to fame is that he's the one who splashed the acid and made Two-Face Two-Face. So, good for him. Beyond that, he literally does nothing, and all of his achievements are overshadowed by Carmine Falcone. Scarecrow. Scarecrow is my favorite Batman villain. Easy peasy. Like, I love Scarecrow. genuinely no better villain than Scarecrow. I love how he uses fear in the same way Batman does, but for more selfish goals. I love his aesthetics. I love how much he can like fuck with the reader and the characters and the stories he's in. I just love Scarecrow. He's awesome. A very, very cool character. Then Shauna Belzer, who is the third ventriloquist, but I decided not to write ventriloquist third because I wasn't including the second ventriloquist. Shauna Belzer is interesting in the sense of being a legacy character, because rather than using the Scarface doll like the other two ventriloquists do, and there's the big question of, oh, is the doll alive, or is this just like a split personality thing, or what's going on? She is a psychic, and she uses her powers to like bring her doll Ferdy to life. So like the doll is unequivocally real for her, which is interesting. It's an interesting way to take the ventriloquist, and I like her. And she should appear in more Batgirl stuff, because I don't know, Batgirl just desperately needs more villains, and she'd be a good pick. I'll put her above Bedbug. She-Bat. She-Bat does not really appear much. But, or at all, really. Sorry, I got distracted. She doesn't appear much or at all, really, but, she exists, and she's basically just Woman Man-Bat. I mean, not even basically just, she is Woman Man-Bat. She is literally, what's his name? Kirk Langstrom? She is Kirk Langstrom's wife, Francine Langstrom, but Man-Batified. Good for her, I guess. Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday. I mean, Solomon Grundy is kind of, unfortunately, a jobber villain most of the time, but I think there's a lot of depth you can give Grundy with how, just with like how his intelligence fluctuates from life to life, with how his backstory works, with what he remembers from his past life, stuff like that. You can give Grundy a lot of depth that maybe isn't something you'd really think about. But actually, I don't think he's gonna go in it. He's gonna go below Killer Croc, because I think Killer Croc can have more depth. But yeah, I really like Grundy. Then we have Spellbinder, and I decided to include a picture of Lady Spellbinder here, but this is just both the Spellbinders, because they both do an equally large amount of nothing. I like and I just chose Lady Spellbinder because there was higher quality pictures of Lady Spellbinder, and B, her design is cooler than the other Spellbinder. But I don't know, I like the idea of like, oh, they use fashion to hypnotize people, and of course Batman Beyond Spellbinder. How can I forget about Batman Beyond Spellbinder? I'm not doing any Batman Beyond characters, but Spellbinder is like the only classic Batman character who got an adaptation in Beyond. Just give them like a above mime, I guess. The Spellbinders are okay. The Spook, probably shouldn't say that because that is a slur, but despite what the cloak may tell you, this guy is not racist. He is just a guy dressed as a ghost, and I guess they just, whoever created him just really didn't think through that Spook is a racial slur. But you know, beyond that, he's like, I don't know if he debuted before or after Mysterio, but he basically just has Mysterio powers, which is that he has no powers at all and does special effects. I'll put him like down here for being racist or for being a slur. The Tallyman. The Tallyman is a hitman who dresses up as an old-timey tax collector who kills people who have debts. God, why am I scrolling down? I scrolled up. Why? I hate my mouse. I'll put him like here. He's fine. Talon. Like I kind of said with Lincoln March, I don't really like the Talons appearing by themselves independent of the court because it kind of defeats the purpose of the Talons. That being said, the Talons are very just badass and they have a really cool design. So I'll put them below Lincoln. Tin-Eyed Man. Another just weirdo villain who kind of has gained notoriety for being a really weird concept for a villain. So I'll put him with Mr. Camera here. And backstory, powers, whatever. Basically, he was a guy who lost his eyesight and then special experiments. Now his fingers are his eyes. Ooh. And he commits petty crime using his eye fingers. The Terrible Trio. The Terrible Trio are a group of 3 rich men who basically just rob people for fun, which honestly is a good idea, especially for Gotham, where everybody's kind of insane. You know, you gotta be a little insane to live in Gotham. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. I'm gonna put him above Lord Deathman. Then the Tiger Shark. Another weaponsman, God, I'm tripping over my words this stream like crazy. Another weapons guy. Tiger Shark. The main thing I remember him from is he's got a yacht in the sewers, which is a very Gotham thing. But yeah, he pretty much just sells weapons, so I'll put him here because he's got a better design than Roadrunner. Tony Zuko, plainclothes mob guy, killed Robin's parents. There you go. Trigger Twins. They are plainclothes mob guy, essentially plainclothes mob guys, except they dress up as cowboys, so good on them. I'll put them there. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, again, they are essentially plainclothes mob guys, but they also have like Wonderland Gang stuff, and I like the Wonderland Gang, so I'll put them in B. Put them like down there. They kind of don't really do much, and weirdly, they weren't even like associated with the Mad Hatter at all upon their debut. They only became associated with the Mad Hatter later down the line. That's interesting. Two-Face. I mean, gotta be an S tier. Kind of similar to Bane in a way, where it's just like they do the long Halloween plot over and over and over again with Two-Face, and he doesn't get much else, which is a shame because there's like genuinely some really good Two-Face plots that aren't just about he's turned into Two-Face, or he tries to get redemption but fails. You know, we could do more. We could be better. Let him flip some coins, gosh darn it. The Underbroker. Basically, he's a guy who like holds criminals' assets for them while they're in Arkham. Good for him. He's got a sick design though, so I'll put him up here. Victor Zsasz. Probably the best like over-the-top edgy serial killer character they've done. Just because like he's so over the top edgy, it kind of is wrapped around into being kind of funny. So I don't know, I like Zsasz, and he was also like a standout part of Arkham Asylum for me. I can't remember who did his voice, but his voice in Arkham Asylum is just so memorable. Then the Ventriloquist. I really like the Ventriloquist. I love how it's. I think the best. I'll rephrase this. I think the best ventriloquist stories are the ones where he where it's not clear whether or not Scarface is an alternate personality, whether or not Wesker is using Scarface to enact his own fantasies, or if Scarface is like actually possessed. You know, there's actually I love stories like that, and the I think because of that dichotomy, the ventriloquist is very interesting, and it's just like such a Gotham concept, you know, a mob boss who's literally a ventriloquist dummy. And finally, then the werewolf. Werewolf. I'm gonna just give it a D tier, move on. I guess I'll put it with Milo. It's just a guy who got transformed into a werewolf by Achilles Milo. Good for him. I don't know, whatever. Sure, is a werewolf. You know, it came out in the 60s, so it was during that time when every superhero ever had to fight a werewolf and a vampire and a Frankenstein and a mummy. And the White Rabbit. Last one. White Rabbit was a Wonderland Gang character who kind of doesn't do much besides being a Wonderland Gang character and also dressing like a stripper. Women empowerment, I guess. Go below Roxy. Because I do like the Wonderland Gang. So there you go, that's that. These are basically these guys are the only villains that should ever appear in anything ever again. With maybe some of these guys, top half of this tier. And Joker shouldn't appear in anything ever again, basically is what I'm saying. Remove Joker from everything ever. Final thoughts before I end the stream. Go listen to Batman the Audio Adventures. Genuinely one of the funniest, some of the funniest Batman media ever. Genuinely really good. Just really good. All the voice actors are in top quality, but if for no other reason, listen to it for the Riddler and Miss Tuesday. I promise you they will have you absolutely rolling. Anyways, that's that. Tune in next time for when I finally decide to get up off my ass and complete Rayman Origins. And then after that, I suppose I'll probably get back to Hitman or whatever. Who knows? Who knows? Also, there's gonna be another. I'm gonna do another big long stream this Sunday. I don't know what all else I'm going to what all I'm going to do in this big long stream, but Sunday's the day before my birthday and I don't have work, so I'm gonna do like a big old birthday stream. I don't know, I might do like Guilty Gear and Team Fortress, you know, just chill, do some chill stuff. Anyways, yeah, that's that. Till next time. Later, Gators.